News now in Claremont County. An attempt to rescue two canoeists stranded in the East Fork of the Little Miami River. Dan Carroll in Chopper 9, high above the river. Tell us the latest, Dan.
Well, first of all, the map that Steve Raleigh was showing just a couple of minutes ago is exactly where we are. Not very far from downtown Batavia and maybe a mile or so from Lake Harsha at East Fork State Park. So that puts it exactly in the location where we're watching this. And I'll just reset the scene here. This is the canoe these two guys were in. They've got into some rapids right here and got their canoe wrapped around this tree. They've been standing on this canoe. We've been here for close to an hour now for that whole time that we've been here, and a little bit longer than that. One thing I am noticing, and I would not be surprised if this is the case, firefighters may have been talking to whoever controls the dam at Lake Harsha, and they may be shutting down the effluent from the lake. I believe they're letting water out of the lake, and they may be shutting that down because we were watching this earlier, and the water was coming over almost over the top of that canoe. Now it looks like it's lowered down maybe a foot or so since we've been washing this. So they may be reducing the flow of water to make this rescue attempt a little bit easier for them. So that may be one thing that's happening, and may answer the question of why we saw firefighters, rescuers on the shore who appeared to just be waiting for something, and we didn't know what that was.
All right, Dan, thank you so much. We also are going to go now by phone to Jim Fleckenstein, who lives near where this water rescue is taking place. Jim, are you with us?
Yes.
Tell us where you live and what you've seen and what you know of the river there.
Well, the river bends right there. I live just about 200 yards up the road toward the dead-end part of Elk Lick Road, and the river bends where these two gentlemen are hanging into the tree right there. And what I did go down and talk to a fireman, and they said that they were going to wait for the Army Corps of Engineers at East Fork, like Dan just said, to shut the water down so maybe these guys could even maybe walk out. I doubt they'll do that, but they are planning on shutting the gates down at the dam to try to get the water lowered down so these guys, so the rescue wouldn't be so dangerous.
And Jim, hang with us. Yeah, Dan Carroll was right about saying that. We can see the boat, the rescue boat, is now finally moving. We've been following this for a while, and they were on the banks for a long time trying to decide how to enter. It appears that they made their move in, either hit a tree or some brush, returned back, and now it looks like they're taking another direction. Dan, you're up in Chopper 9 right now. Tell us what you think is going on right now.
Well, this is a different boat that came from a different direction that we were watching earlier. The boat that we saw earlier was a yellow inflatable boat,
yeah.
And this one came from essentially from the north, approaching these two who are stuck on the tree. As you said, they made a run at it from that direction, and then it looked like they bottomed out a little bit. So they just let the current take them back downstream, and now they're heading back upstream to try and make another attempt to get close to the two who are stuck on the canoe by that tree. So we're just going to watch this unfold here as they head into that water. And seeing this boat on the water, I think, gives you a really good illustration of just how quickly this current is moving and some of the difficulties that these rescuers are facing. Now, one thing I am noticing is that these two who are in this boat do not have on the thermal suits that we saw the other rescuers wearing. So I don't know which department or what outfit these two are with that are attempting to move in and get closer to the two guys who are stuck on the tree. So for now, we're just going to watch them and see if they can make progress getting closer to them and getting them in this boat.
Dan,
it looks like they've got that engine going pretty hard, and they're fighting the current to get upstream and get closer to these guys.
Well, Dan, you are doing a great job, but okay, now this is what I was waiting for. Are those the two men there? I couldn't see where the boat was in relation to the canoeist, but now we see the canoeist, right?
Right, there they are, right in the middle of your picture, and just to their right, here they come.
Look at that.
Two rescuers in the boat trying to get to them from the I guess this would be a more northern part of the river. But look how the current is pushing them back.
Wow.
up against the side of the river right there. So now one of them is getting out, and I don't know if they're going to throw a line over to him or what they're going to do. So we'll just have to watch and see what happens.
Yeah, they are now just feet away. They tried to enter one way, backed up, let the current carry them out. Now they're coming down the other side. And Dan, one guy got out of the boat. Is another man still in the boat?
Yeah, the tree's blocking my shot a little bit. I believe there's one man who's running the motor there. He's still in. Here we go. Now he's getting back in.
I have a question for Jim Fleckenstein.
Look how hard he's running that engine, trying to get upstream. Look how fast that current is.
Okay.
Oh, it's taking him back.
They literally can't get to him right now.
That is a powerful current, and I know you don't know the answer to this, but what I'm wondering is how deep the water is there between the canoeists and the boat.
You know, it doesn't look very deep right there, and that's probably part of the problem. Is that the propeller on that boat can't get much purchase to drive it upstream. But I don't think it. You know, the depth of the water is probably not the main concern here. It's just how quickly that water is moving past this part of the river.
Dan, can you pull out again and show us where the crew was, or the crew is now, with that inflatable boat, the other boat that we were talking about originally?
Well, I'll pull the camera back a little bit, and they might be blocked by the trees, but they're about in this area. They're just a little bit ahead of the rescue vehicles that you see there to the bottom of your screen, and closer to the riverbank. I think they're blocked by the topography and the trees in that particular shot right there. But where they had that yellow inflatable boat positioned earlier. To me, it just looked like a very difficult position to try to get in the river, and this boat came completely from the other direction. Nick Ringo, the pilot, was the first to mention, "Oh, there's the boat," and I was looking in the direction where we saw the earlier boat, and these two came from the other direction, and that was a little bit of a surprise to me because we didn't see them at all earlier.
And now they've dragged the boat onto land.
Right, but look at what's between them and the two guys who are stuck on the tree. There's really, I don't know if I'd jump off there and try to walk that short distance. Right. The way that water is moving to get over to them, I'm sure they're not going to recommend that.
And Dan, stand by. We have Scott Becker joining us live on the phone now from Colerain Township, from the fire department there. Scott, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Scott, we want to talk with you and just get some more perspective on what they are going through to get to these men here in the water. I know you have a lot of experience in this department. Are you watching from Chopper 9? Tell us what your opinion is right now.
Well, I mean, they are kind of in an interesting situation with the current and the way that the brush and everything behind them. You know, there's no real easy way to necessarily get to them from the downstream, which is obviously going to be the easiest way to get to them. So I think right now it appears that I'm looking at, it appears that they're going to try and throw a rope bag to them and possibly just use a rope and swing them or pendulum kind of downstream back onto the little island that they're currently standing on.
And we were talking earlier with a captain who is also familiar with rescues, and he was saying that this was a high-risk situation. As you're watching, walk us through what makes this high risk.
They just tossed some kind of line to them.
Well, it's more of a high risk, and just due to the sheer fact that if they get swept down, there's no telling what they might get swept down and what they might catch. There's a lot of obstacles that they could catch. They could potentially get a foot entrapment on a rock that's on the bottom, which then, you know, would drag them under, and they obviously would have an issue with that. Likewise, they could hit what we call a strainer, something that allows water through but not objects. So at that point, if they catch something along those lines, they may also go under, and then we're not sure exactly where they may surface.
And we just saw the rescue crew throw a rope to one of the canoeists out there. What happens next? Are they going to jump in the water and just let the rope take them back?
Well, there's two options there. There is that option, but since there's two of them, what they might do is they may tie that off to a tree and then use that rope and the current itself to actually kind of glide them down to where the rescuers are.
And as Steve was saying, it looks like what that guy's doing. Dan, can you see right now, is that guy tying the rope to himself or to the tree?
That's a good question. the rescuer threw what appeared to be a flotation device. I mentioned it earlier. The man you see on the right who's standing on the canoe, he's got on a flotation device. The other man did not appear to have a flotation device on, so that may be what he's doing. He may be strapping that flotation device to himself, and of course it's attached to a rope to the rescuers, obviously for safety's sake. Should he slip and fall in the river, they'd be able to maintain a grip on him and pull him in, because if you don't have a flotation device in this water, it would be quite easy, I would think, to go under and find yourself in real trouble. So I would guess, from what I can see, now it looks like he's wrapping it around a tree. So it looks like he's wrapping that around a tree, and maybe just to have a line so they can walk across that short distance where there doesn't appear to be any footing between them and the rescue crew.
Dan, that's what I was going to ask you. But in that short distance, what does that look like there? Is that the ground, or is that some a tree branches? What can they have their footing on?
Yeah, I don't think. I think it's just a part of the ground where it's a little bit higher in the water. The flow of water is a little bit less now than what it used to be. And there you see the one rescuer in the back who was walking in there, and the water was just a little bit more than ankle high. So to me, it looks like it's just ground. I'm not sure if it's rocky. It could very well be slippery. It's obviously wet. And if you just don't want to lose your footing between where they are and where the rescuers are, and get yourself in that water, because then you've opened up a whole other can of worms. So we're watching this. It looks like they're tying off that line, and perhaps they're going to make that line taut so those gentlemen have something to hold on to as they're walking to the two in the rescue boat.
They're clearly proceeding with caution. Just to look at it on TV, it looks like such a short distance, but as you said, there are many challenges involved in all this.
And that's the thing with the temperature of the water. If they're releasing this water from the lake, that water is going to be very cold. I've done stories in the past where I've gone out on rescue training missions, and we've been in water that's been released from the lake. And I can tell you, and I had a thermal suit on, and even with that thermal suit on, that water is unbelievably cold. So that's probably the main concern right here, is just keeping everyone out of the water and prevent any chance of any further complications from being in the water that can happen. And as we know, and we've done so many stories on it in the past, that it doesn't take long for hypothermia to set in, or all kinds of other problems once you get in water that can be this cold.
All right, Dan, thanks. And we again have Scott Becker from the Colerain Township Fire Department on the phone with us. And Scott, we're watching. It appears that they are tying this rope off to both of the trees. Take us through the process, what happens next, and how they came to this decision.
Well, it appears to me that they attempted to do more of a boat-based type rescue, in which with the current it didn't allow them. But now, with that rope tight, you kind of have two options. One, either I can't quite tell if they both have flotation devices on, but that would be paramount, is to make sure that the victims both have the proper PFDs on. If that's the case, which it kind of appears he's actually walking up to the canoe, which is the best bet, because then you can actually get you can actually touch them and then work your way back with them, and to ensure that they don't go, and if they do go, you have contact with that victim still. So now he may take them one at a time, which he'll probably take one at a time back. Mm-hmm. And he obviously is taking the one without the PFD, which is going to be the higher risk victim.
And look at that. It looks like he got him all the way across.
Good job.
At least back to where they had their footing, and they appeared to be stable.
Yes.
And then from there, they're actually just going to take him in the boat to the safety point.
Wow. All right. It looks like this water rescue is going to come to a happy ending tonight. If you are just joining us, we are watching a water rescue happening in Claremont County. This is at the East Fork of the Little Miami River. This has been going on for about an hour now, a little over an hour. 2 canoeists were stranded, and we have watched 2 rescue crews attempt to get them, and this second one has been a success. You see that canoeist sitting down, taking
Can you imagine
a sigh of
how
relief.
he feels? Yes, and now they're going back to get the second canoeist. There we go. There we go. Yes, this has been, as Julie said, about an hour, maybe over an hour at this point, and they have been working against certain challenges. The temperature of the water, which we believe is maybe around 40 degrees, the swift current, and the impending darkness. And they seem to have pulled off this rescue before it got dark, and this is good to see. And Scott, are you still on the phone with us?
Yes, I am.
I'm just curious now, as we're seeing this come to a happy ending, what now with the canoe? Do they even make an attempt to rescue that, or will they eventually let the current pull that out and pick it up later?
Chances are they'll probably just kind of let it go for now, because the force of that water against it, there's really no chance that you're actually going to dislodge that canoe. So they'll probably wait till it gets back to more of a pool stage, and then they'll recover the canoe from there.
Well, thank you for being with us, Scott, and giving us your expertise. I imagine you know how those rescuers feel when they have a successful conclusion.
It's definitely a relieving feeling.
Well, thank you for talking to us. And as we can see, we see the rescuers now and the rescued going to dry land, and a rescue boat that we hope can carry them back to some blankets and something warm to drink. Yes,
because as we said before, while it is a nice day out there, that water temperature is still pretty chilly tonight. I know Steve looked up a fishing report earlier and saw that it was estimated to be about 40 degrees, and those canoeists have been out there for quite some time. Imagine they are pretty wet at this point and chilly, but at least safe and sound. Dan Carroll, we'll toss it back up to you in Chopper 9 as we close this out.
Well, just imagine standing on what is really a very small perch for that entire time, with that water buffeting that canoe the entire time. I was talking to Nick about this earlier. You would think that's got to be fatiguing to stand there and stand there and stand there and wait that long. And you saw the first person who was rescued, he got to dry land, and the first thing he did was sit down, and you could just see sort of the relief wash over him that he finally was able to sit down and take a load off, and just take a few minutes to relax finally. Now they've got to get in the boat safely and get the boat safely back to shore, and that's going to be a little bit of an adventure as well, but something that these two obviously will remember the rest of their lives.
Yeah, you know they will. And by the way, that second canoeist just got up on his own steam, so they appear to be in good shape and ready to call an end to this day, I would imagine.
No kidding. Everyone just about in that boat, ready to take back off. If you are just joining us, you are watching the conclusion of what has been a water rescue on the Little Miami River. It has been an hour in the making, but crews have finally reached 2 canoeists who were stranded in the fork where the current was pretty rough for the last hour. We've watched as the river has gone down about a foot just to give them some relief. We've watched the rescue crew try one way, try another way, and they finally made it to those 2 canoeists using a rope and rescuing them one by one.
That's right. It took some ingenuity and it took some determination and a couple of stabs from different directions, but they have finally got their men, and we are going to continue to watch and see as the boat takes off and goes back to shore and to safety. Dan Carroll, as you've been watching this, have you seen many rescues like this in your career?
Well, you know, we get called out here in Chopper 9 to go to breaking news, water rescues all the time, and the majority of the time they get to the people who are out on the river very, very quickly. Or, you know, every once in a while we have tragic circumstances where someone gets lost in the river and it turns in not into a rescue but the recovery of a body. So in this instance, this is one that's going to stick in my memory for sure, to see this drama unfold live here on 9 on Your Side, the way these two were stuck and just the very dangerous position they were in for quite some time with that water, the canoe just bent around that tree and that water rushing up over the top of that canoe. And those two literally holding on for dear life, and all the coordination between the rescue crews and lessening the flow out of the lake and into the East Fork of the Little Miami River here, so they could make an attempt to get to these two who were stuck out on the river. And now you see them in the boat. They've got it turned around, and they're going to head back to where the position where they launched from, and get these two out of the water and probably have a little conversation about water safety and boating safety, canoeing safety, and all the rest of it. And I would imagine that after this is over, they might be able to have a good laugh about it.
Well, it might take a day to laugh about it, Dan. This certainly is a happy ending. You know, somebody just tweeted to me, that wasn't a water rescue, that was a land rescue. Well, clearly it was both, and we are fortunate that it didn't have to be a water rescue. It was some kind of combination, and fortunate that they could walk to their rescuers and walk out of it.
I would take a little issue with that. I would think it's if you saw it from the very beginning, where those two were pinned up against that tree with that water rushing underneath them, and you got to remember, you don't know how stable and how long that canoe is going to hold up with all the force of that water that was coming up against it. So this thing could have gone very wrong at any time, but unfortunately it didn't. And once again, you know, hats off to our local firefighters and rescue crews who do an outstanding job in so many instances, and we've seen another example of that here today.
You are so right, and hats off to you too, Dan, for some really compelling pictures. You brought us this happy ending, and we are certainly glad to see this end like this. For those of you who just joined us, we have just seen a successful water rescue in Claremont County at the East Fork of the Little Miami River, and you are seeing two canoeists who had an unfortunate accident, and now they have been rescued and are heading home.
Such relief tonight.
Absolutely, absolutely.